Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Monday, February the 15th, 2021. On today's show, I break down yet another disappointing loss. The Gamecocks fall to the Ole Miss Rebels, 81-74 on Saturday night. Also, I will talk the women's team. On a brighter note, Dawn Staley's crew on Sunday afternoon getting the win 66-59 over the LSU Tigers. Also, news and notes to get into, your listener questions. And, guys, we have a phenomenal interview. Former Gamecocks star and, of course, NBA Hall of Famer Alex English joins the show. We break everything down from his career at South Carolina, the NBA, his phenomenal career with the Denver Nuggets, being an all-star, being in the NBA Hall of Fame, the current state of Carolina basketball. Guys, this is an interview you surely do not want to miss, guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy. It's all brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention other companies can't offer because they're just too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the competition. They're not a trucking company, by the way. They are a moving services company, and they're also employee-owned co-op. Their movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone on the crew is invested in your success. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they also offer black glove service. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom crating and packaging for special items, and cleaning services as well. They're founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni, guys, so a Gamecock-owned small business. They also offer 20 years of project management moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, whether you're in the upstate or across the state of South Carolina, if you have any moving needs in 2021, be sure to check out my friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. And, of course, if you have any questions, go to their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. What is up, guys? Happy Monday. I'm Chris Phillips. Here's the Spurs Up Show as always. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Got a lot to get into, guys. And hey, let me be the first to welcome you and congratulate you, by the way, because we finally made it the week of opening day. Gamecocks baseball taking on the Dayton Flyers on Friday. The baseball season officially starting at Founders Park this Friday, 4 o'clock. Folks, we have got a huge week of content, of podcasts, of Daily Crow, of everything coming your way. The podcast rolls on full steam ahead this week. And again, you guys know I'm fired up. We've got opening day on Friday. Baseball season is here. I am so excited as we sit here now, just 4 days away from opening day, guys. Of course, right now I'm sitting in Orlando, Florida in a hotel, going back to, by the time you guys are hearing the sound of my voice on Monday, I will be headed back to Columbia, to the promised land, probably getting back there sometime this afternoon, if you will. And like I said, got a lot to do this week. Got a lot to get into with baseball season starting on Friday. Of course, Gamecocks basketball. Another game tomorrow night against the Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville. We got a lot going on this week. Quick reminder, by the way, podcast, obviously, as you're hearing my voice, you guys know, rolling through as normal this week, Monday through Friday. The Daily Crow. No Daily Crow today. In case you guys forgot, no Daily Crow today. But tomorrow through Friday, Tuesday through Friday, as normal. And again, you know, I took that last vacation in Orlando because, hey, we're locked in. Starting Friday, we are locked in for Carolina baseball really from here on out for the next 3.5, 4 months or so, guys. So, again, I'm fired up for it. I know you're fired up for it. We got a lot to get into here on a Monday as well. So, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And you know what? I really don't even know how I want to start this show because maybe I should sit here in just about 20 minutes or so tell you guys how my vacation has gone, how things have gone at the theme parks. Obviously, went to Universal Studios and went to Islands of Adventure and rode a bunch of rides and hung out with the family and all that good stuff. Spent Valentine's Day at the theme parks. And maybe I should talk about that because that, honestly, might be more interesting than talking about what happened on Saturday night. But I'm going to do my absolute best to talk about what went down on Saturday. Before we do, I want to start this show off a little bit differently. Normally, I wait until the end of the show, right, to play, to go through listener questions and play voicemails as well. But I was going through my voicemails, and I apologize to you guys. There's a couple of voicemails that I've somehow missed over the last couple of weeks. So, again, I really do apologize about that. But good buddy of mine, Tim, that normally calls in. And, Tim, if you're listening, appreciate you, sir. Hope you've been well. Haven't heard from you in a while, and I totally understand why. But I got a good buddy, Tim, that calls in a lot. And Tim is a guy, listen, he does not hold back on his opinions. And is a guy that I think one of the reasons we click so well and get along, and probably one of the reasons, Tim, you enjoy my content, is because I think we see things similarly. I think we see things, we're on the same wavelength when we consume South Carolina sports and critique it and give our thoughts and opinions on it. Well, I'm going back through my voicemails, and I got a voicemail from Tim on January the 31st. I mean, this is a few weeks ago, right? We're sitting here on Monday, February the 15th. So literally, basically 2 weeks ago. And I got this voicemail. And it's crazy to me. I'm going to let you guys hear it. But it's crazy to me how much this voicemail from 2 weeks ago regarding Gamecocks basketball could be applied to the feeling that we all have today. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Let's listen to what Tim had to say on January the 31st after a different South Carolina basketball game.
Hey, Chris, what is there really to say about the basketball team and program in general? Like, if there's one thing that's consistent about this team and program, is just the fact that they're just wildly inconsistent. And that's on display tonight. And it's really frustrating because I'm not one that's like, I love Frank Martin, right? And I'm not one that's like, oh, we got to move on, we got to fire him. But in the same sense, it just feels like we're just going in circles here. It feels like we're just going through the motions. And you have a great game a few days ago, and then you follow it up. Everybody's like, okay, well, let's get some momentum here. And you lay a massive egg. And that has just been the MO of this program for years. And it's like, look, I love what Frank did 4 years ago, that magical run getting there. And I know everybody's still hung up on that, saying, oh, that's it. Look at what that's had. Look at what he did. And yeah, it was great. The most exciting basketball I've ever seen. And as being a Gamecock fan, but is everybody just satisfied with that being it? Like, does nobody want more? Do people not want to go back? Or is people just satisfied, oh, well, we had that one time in 2017, and that was it? No, like, I want to go back to the tournament. I want to make consistent Sweet 16 runs, Elite 8 runs, get back to the Final Four, get further. I want it to be consistent. And I don't know if we're working towards that right now. That's the best way to say it. And also, one last thing. I noticed a lot of people commenting on Twitter saying that we were robbed last year getting in the tournament. And that is incorrect. The team was 18-13 last year, lost to Stetson and Boston U. They were not getting in the tournament. If anything, the SEC tournament being canceled gave them a reprieve from being embarrassed. So, had to get that off my chest. Looking forward to the podcast on Monday. Talk to you later.
All right, Tim, thank you for that, and I apologize. It took me 2 weeks and some change to get that on the podcast. But you'd have thought that voicemail was left after the game Saturday night, right? Like it's crazy. The reason I played that, it's crazy to think that in 2 weeks' time, like, we're still sitting in the same exact position we were in then. And again, of course, we're talking Gamecocks losing to Ole Miss 81-74 in a game that Ole Miss led by 8 at halftime. And yeah, South kind of tried to make a little bit of a run late, but I really don't feel like the game was ever that close. And I've always been very upfront and honest with you guys and very blunt about things. I'm going to be honest and blunt about this too. Obviously, again, I've been in Florida all weekend, been with the family. The last time I came down here, which was about a month ago to the date, basically, South kind of played LSU that night. I remember vividly. And we made it a point to get back to the hotel, cut it on the laptop, watch the game, really be invested into it. And again, I'm going to be honest and blunt with you guys. This time around, we didn't do that. We didn't stop what we were doing to watch the basketball game. We didn't, oh my God, we got to go find the nearest TV. Oh my God, we got to go home and cut it on. No. I checked it on my phone periodically. Was checking in every couple minutes or so. And as the margin got larger and larger, maybe stopped checking in quite as much. I had somebody text me, by the way, shout out to them if they're listening, that said, hey, are you watching the game? If so, cut it off and enjoy your time in Florida. So I thought that was funny. But here's the thing, guys, because I think a lot of people, and maybe not the ones necessarily tuned in right now, but I think there's a lot of people, or some people, that view my brand and me as a person and kind of what I do and how things sort of went down with Will Muschamp and the football program and all that stuff. Because, listen, call it for what it is. Like I said, a lot of the attention that the Spurs Up Show got and really, helping it get to the point that it's at now came from that whole Muschamp thing, right? We all know that. There were some people that thought that was like the worst case thing. That was like the worst thing that could have happened. Oh my God, all this negativity and this fire the coach this, fire the coach that. This is so bad for the program. I'm here to tell you that is not worst case scenario for a program. Fans being upset, irate, disgusted, and calling for change, calling for a coach being fired, calling for a player to be benched, calling for a change in a coordinator or a system or what. That is not worst case. What we are seeing with Gamecock basketball right now with the apathy and people just not caring. And listen, I know that there's going to be some people tuned in and some people that hear this, whatever, that, you can be the most garnet glasses Gamecock fan all you want and say, oh my God, no, there's no apathy. Everybody still cares. But guys, I'm telling you from my vantage point, having a feel on the pulse of the Gamecock fan base, there's a large portion of fans that have just completely checked out in regards to basketball. And listen, there are multiple reasons, the COVID stuff and the on again, off again type deal. And of course the inconsistencies with this team. And this team not being very good, this team being 5-9 overall. That plays a huge part in it. But apathy is set in. And again, if we're not totally there yet, if you don't want to say we're there yet, we're pretty damn close. We're pretty damn close. And again, as I sit here on Monday, February the 15th, 2021, I feel I have to make this clear yet again. I am not sitting here saying fire Frank Martin. Not doing it. I'm not going to say it all season. I'm giving Frank Martin, for whatever reason, I'm giving him a pass this season. I don't think firing him amidst a COVID season really solves your problems. And you just fired your football coach and spent a ton of money on that, getting him out of town and getting a new staff hired. I don't think the timing is right to do it. But with that being said, I'll say this. You bring him back next year, assuming he doesn't retire, nothing that. Let's just assume everything is all good, all normal. You bring him back next year. If you don't make the tournament next year and you don't fire him, you're spitting in the face of South Carolina fans because you're saying we don't care about winning. You are. Bottom line, I don't care what anybody has to say on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever. You are. There's no worse feeling, especially for me, and for all of us. But, just coming on here, I want to come on here and say something constructive and critical about the game. But, what's the point? It was a carbon copy of basically every other game you've played. Copy, paste exactly what I said on the podcast last Monday, the Monday before, and the Monday before. It's the same thing. You got outshot. Ole Miss made 50% of their field goals. You made 40%. Hey, you actually made more threes than them. Ole Miss made 34 free throws. You made 22. Held your own with rebounds. I'll give you that. Actually won the turnover battle. But again, bottom line, you didn't do enough to win. And hey, to rub salt in the wound, the leading scorer from Ole Miss, Devontae Shuler, he went to, or is from, Irmo, South Carolina. And again, I know somebody on social media told me, Chris, there's reasons he didn't come to South Carolina. He needed to get out. He needed to go somewhere else. That's all fine and dandy, but it feels like it rubs salt in the wound. Meanwhile, on your side, A.J. Lawson had an A.J. Lawson kind of night. 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Outside of that, nobody really did anything. Will Zivek with 13. Trey Hannibal with 12. Trey Hannibal with 12 points in 18 minutes. Had a pretty nice game. 4 assists for him as well. Outside of that, nobody else had double digits. You had Jermaine Kusnar go down with an injury. Keyshawn Bryant finished with 9 points. Not his best night. Justin Minaya with 5 points and 9 rebounds. Again, I don't know. I don't know what to say with Minaya. Seventh Woods went back to the normal Seventh Woods that we knew. 4 points for him in 22 minutes. And that was pretty much it. But again, it's just copy paste. Because I know a lot of you tuning in like, Chris, I'm checked out. I checked out. I've already checked out. Why are we even talking about this? I've checked out. But I refuse to act like basketball's not going on. And I'm the Spurs Up Show is not a one-trick pony. We don't just talk football like some other shows. And I really love Gamecocks basketball and love Gamecocks athletics as a whole. And, of course, we're going to talk about it. But, again, my thoughts from this game, again, are more bigger picture around the USC program. In the sense that, listen, I'm not immune to it. I feel it. Even having a business that revolves around the Gamecocks, you would think that I'm like, and I mean, I'm very grateful and feel extremely blessed and just feel very, very blessed to be in the position I'm in. But it even hits me, the apathy feeling, if you will. Like, I understand where the normal fan is coming from with this basketball team and this basketball season. And again, like I said, if you want to blame COVID, sure. I don't think you can. I don't think you should. If you want to blame COVID, fine. This season is being labeled as a wash no matter what. And again, I am not sitting here saying fire Frank Martin. How Frank Martin can't get this group of dudes to play any better than they are, I have no idea. And it's not going to get any better. Like, it's not going to get any better anytime soon. You got to go to Tennessee on Tuesday, tomorrow night. You got to go to Tennessee. Then you got the 10th-ranked Missouri Tigers on Saturday. Then you got to go to Mississippi State, who already beat you. Then you got to go to Georgia, which you beat them, but then you got to go on the road. And then you got Arkansas at home to close it out. It's just, again, it's tough to find the words, guys, because, again, I know this has been a COVID-impacted season. Like, I totally get that. And, yes, South Carolina was the dog going in this game, for sure. They were a 2-point underdog on their home floor to an Ole Miss team that, like, they're not really world beaters. I mean, they'd won 3 in a row, hitting their stride, have now won 4 in a row. But, again, you got really dominated for the majority of that game. Yeah, you made a late push, but that game was really never – I mean, you were down by 16 at one point. That game was never really close. And like I told you guys, again, I see a lot of you tweeting at me and sending me DMs and like, Chris, I know you don't – a lot of you are saying, Chris, I know you don't want to be that guy, but you got to be that guy. I'm not going to be that fire Frank Martin guy right now, guys. I'm just not doing it. It's just not worth it because, again, I personally don't think firing Frank Martin amidst a pandemic-driven season, this COVID-affected season, I don't know that that's necessarily the right move. There's a lot of weird things going on in college basketball. You look at Kentucky, you look at Duke, you look at the blue bloods of college basketball and the types of seasons they're having. It doesn't make any sense. But, again, going into next year, I'm almost more so thinking about next season and the future of this program. Going into next year, all the goodwill, like, I swear, if going into year 10, I hear people in the preseason talking about, well, no, you can't let him go because Final Four. If I hear the Final Four brought up one time in the preseason for next year, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to snap my laptop in half. Straight up. All that goodwill that was built up in 2017 That's gone for me. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. Cool. There's some dope YouTube clips to post every March and April. Thank you for giving me content in regards to throwback clips to post from the Final Four run. But, like, in regards to current day South Carolina basketball, I do not care. Does not matter. Has no effect on my day-to-day life. At some point, you got to stop living in the past. You got to make new memories. You got to win games now. And the worst part, I was talking to somebody about this on Saturday, actually, before the game. The worst part, and somebody was asking, why are fans apathetic, do you think? Why is there so much apathy with Gamecock basketball? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why right now. And he's in the room and probably going to laugh about this, but I had a conversation with my brother. Whenever you go on a ride, right, you're going on a really scary ride. You're going on a roller coaster. There's that sense of that urgency, that build up, that anticipation, right? You're a little nervous. You're a little scared. That's what makes it great, though, is that expectation, what to expect when you go on it, versus when you go on a kiddie ride. You go on the Cat in the Hat ride, I'll take, for example. I'm going to compare the Hulk and the Cat in the Hat ride because I was at Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, whatever. The Cat in the Hat ride, you don't get that sense of anticipation, that fear, that expectation of, oh, my God, there's going to be a thrill on the other side. It is what it is, right? It's a kiddie ride, whatever. Like, we are the Cat in the Hat ride of college basketball. In the sense, like, there are no expectations. There's no anticipation. It feels like we're playing for nothing. That's why there's apathy in the program. We don't have expectations. Hey, I like Frank Martin. He's a good basketball coach. Whatever. That Final Four lives forever. Nobody can take that away. But, guys, I'm here to tell you, any college basketball program that had any semblance of expectations of being above average, of winning, of getting the tournament, Frank Martin would be fired. No ifs, ands, or buts, no questions. They would be helping him pack his bags, and he would be fired. Probably would have been fired last year. We have no expectations. You know what makes Carolina baseball great? What makes Carolina baseball great is year in, year out, there are expectations. There's a standard of excellence. And no, I'm not saying that Gamecock basketball should be held to the same standard as Gamecock baseball. Because the expectation for Gamecock baseball is very clearly laid out. It is to get to Omaha. If you didn't make Omaha, for a lot of fans, you had a bad year. And that's harsh. I believe that's 100% harsh. But that's part of what makes it great. Hey, Alabama football, right? These other great programs. Alabama football. Hey, forget not making the playoff. If you don't win the national title, you had a bad year. If you don't make the playoff, you had a miserably bad year. Those expectations, they're probably unrealistic year in, year out. But that's what makes it great. Expectations are a positive, not a negative, a positive. South Carolina basketball has no expectations. And when you have no expectations, you have no standard of, I'm hesitant to say excellence because, God, at this point, I would love just a standard of being above average and making a tournament once every 4 years. I don't think that's asking for a lot at all. But you have none of that. You have no expectations. There's no standard to win, And again, it feels like you're playing for nothing. Do I think players think that? Coaches think that? No. That's how it feels, though, on this side. And so when you have that feeling, that's where the apathy comes in. Why care? I mean, why care? Nothing's going to happen anyways. South Carolina basketball, guys, is in sports hell right now. We are in sports hell. And I'll tell you what sports hell is. A lot of NFL teams and professional organizations find themselves in sports hell. Sports hell is this. Gamecocks basketball under Frank Martin has had just enough success to justify things are going great and to convince you that everything is sunshines and rainbows and the program is in this great spot. but we're bad enough to never win anything of significance. So we're stuck right in the middle. It's like an NFL organization being a 500 team every year. Again, you're just good enough to sell tickets and be interesting, but you're not bad enough to have any real monumental change that could maybe throw the organization or the program back on track into a trajectory of positivity and being great again. That's where South Carolina basketball is. We're in sports hell. We're in sports hell. Because, we got this nice little SEC record we got over the last 3-4 years. And, we got this banner for making the Final Four in 2017. And we've had some nice upsets here and there. And, we're not a basketball school anyway. So if we have a couple nice upsets and, we just win once every 10 years, we're doing something really good. Like, that attitude is just crippling South Carolina basketball. And I'll say this too, because after every single loss, I voice my opinions on social media, of course. But after every loss on Twitter, it never, ever, ever, ever fails. There are people that I will say something, it's not fire Frank Martin. You guys know that. I've made it very clear where I stand on that. But I'll say something about the game or about this call or this play or maybe Frank Martin, maybe being critical of him. But after every loss, there's always these dudes coming to my mentions butthurt. I mean, extremely butthurt about what I said in regards to the game, Martin, whatever, just wanting to rip me. I've told you guys before, you cannot be even slightly critical of Frank Martin without people going insane. And I'll just go ahead and say this. It's those people, they're the reason Gamecock basketball sucks. Those people are the reason. People with those type of attitudes that it's like you have to just blindly, loyally support no matter what. No matter even if the product is trash. You just have to support because the dude won one time. I like Frank Martin. Get out of your feelings and stop taking it so personally. And separate logic and emotion. That's the biggest problem with people. They cannot separate the two. 2017 was great, dude. The Final Four was great. It was awesome. But every year we get farther and farther away from it. And I mean, South Carolina basketball has done nothing since that Final Four. I mean, nothing. So, listen, I'm not saying fire Frank Martin. I like Frank Martin. Firing him during the COVID pandemic impacted season, I don't think solves anything. I don't think so. I think you need to bring him back next year. But like I said, if I'm Bob Caslen, if I'm Ray Tanner, but definitely if I'm Bob Caslen, because I feel like Bob's the one right now laying down the law, I'm having a very professional business conversation, sit down with Frank Martin. I'm telling him, hey, Frank, appreciate everything you've done here. Really looking forward to this season, excited for your squad. We need to get something straight, though. If you don't make the NCAA tournament this year for the best interest of you and the best interest of us, we're going to have to part ways. Bottom line, there will be no ifs, ands, or buts. We don't want to hear about injuries. We don't want to hear about somebody got sick with a stomach, but we don't want to hear about none of it. If you don't make the tournament, we're going to have to part ways for the betterment of you and for us. Bottom line. And I said this last spring regarding Gamecocks basketball and the athletics department as a whole. The athletics department, and especially on the basketball side of things, has to sit down and say, okay, what do we want to accomplish? Like, what do we want the standard to be here? Because I love these people on social media that just think just because, and you see this in football too. You don't see it in baseball, but you see it in football and basketball, but especially now basketball, it's rearing its ugly head, where we have a lot of fans, and they're old heads for sure. I mean, they've been fans forever. They, whatever. They're old heads, most of them. But they think just because we sucked, we've sucked forever, that we should just suck now. Like, we should be okay with sucking. Oh my God, we made the Final Four once in 10 years. I mean, you should see what it was like then. Well, I'm here to say this. Am I saying that right now we should all of a sudden flip a switch and say, hey, let's hire a new coach, and we got to tell him that the NCAA tournament's the requirement, that's the standard year in, year out. If he doesn't hit it, he's fired. I'm not saying that. But no matter the sport, baseball, football, basketball, whatever, people talk about tradition, winning traditions, winning cultures. Guys, tradition starts somewhere. Bama wasn't founded as a program. They just had tradition. Texas, Michigan, Duke basketball, Kentucky, UNC. Tradition starts, there's a starting point of tradition. Nobody starts out with tradition. Somebody at some point put their foot down and said, this is going to be the way things are going to be. This is how things are here. Bottom line. And it gets passed on and passed on and passed on. As soon as you know, hey, before you know it, that's tradition. That's your culture. I hate to use them as an example, but look at Clemson. Look at Clemson football. It still blows my mind that Clemson is what they are. Because I remember growing up in middle school and high school and then being a 6-win program, 7-win maybe, right there with South Carolina. But now Clemson has real tradition. They have a real standard of winning and going to the playoff and winning national titles. They do. But tradition starts somewhere. It starts somewhere. Again, you're at a crossroads. They got to make a decision. Somebody's got to make a decision. Bring Frank Martin back next year. I like Frank, and I hope in a year from now, we're talking about the great turnaround and how, the COVID season was such a throwaway. It didn't show how great of a coach Martin is and how much talent he had. And, this team that's projected to be this seed in the tournament. Blah, blah. I hope that's the combo we're having. I hope it is. But if it's not, guys, it's going to be time to make a change. And if you don't, you're just showing you don't really give a rat's ass about the program. You flat out don't. I mean, I like Frank as much as anybody, man, but my God, he gets paid a lot of money to win games. All the other stuff he does with the player development and graduate, that is all great. That is all great. Those are great things. But he gets paid to win basketball games and hit goals and hit certain achievements. And again, if the goal's not to get to the tournament from the people behind the scenes, that's a huge issue in its own right. But getting way back to my point, apathy. That is why apathy has set in, because everything I just mentioned about tradition, culture, having standards, having expectations, there's none of that. There's none of that. And it's amplified in a season like this with COVID and built-in excuses. There's a built-in excuse to lose. Why watch? There's a built-in excuse. What difference does it make? So, I don't know. I'm not saying quit on this team. I'm certainly not. I'll be watching every single game, covering every single game. I'm not quitting on this team. I'm not quitting on this group of players. I think there's still good players on this roster. Obviously, we know the season's a wash. We know it's a throwaway. But, hey, you still got games to be played. And, I expect Frank Martin's team to keep fighting. I think the culture is good in the sense these guys will continue to play for one another. They'll play hard. They're not going to just quit and hang their heads and, whatever, pack it in. But, again, I'm thinking more so like long-term of the program. I'm just getting so sick and tired of having these same conversations over and over and over again. I really am. Getting sick of having them. And I know you guys are getting sick of hearing them. So, who knows? Maybe Carolina can pull one out of their you-know-where tomorrow night in Knoxville. And obviously, again, on tomorrow's show, I'll break that game down in its entirety. But, yeah, you just – I don't know. Just riding this season out, man. Just riding this season out and licking your wounds as you go and getting it over with. That's all you can really do at this point. So, again, Gamecocks falling to Ole Miss 81-74. Let's move into a more positive note, by the way. I want to give Dawn Staley and her team some love. I don't do that enough. I want to do so. Let's talk a little bit about Dawn Staley's crew getting their 66-59 win over the LSU Tigers on Sunday afternoon. They improved to 17-2 overall. How about this? They shot the exact same in a game. Dawn Staley's crew, 23-61, 37.7%. LSU, same exact numbers, same exact percentage. The Gamecocks made more three-pointers, more free throws, had 17 more rebounds. And you look at a player like Aaliyah Boston, had 12 points, 13 rebounds. She's such a force inside. Destani Henderson, 19 points. Zia Cook, 13 points. Overall, I'll say this. I am really, really excited. And again, I know this is, you look at LSU, 8-10, you only win by 7. I feel good about Dawn's team, though. How could you question Dawn Staley, what she's got going on? You know what I mean? Who would we be to question it, right? I know it's been kind of an interesting season, for Dawn and the team for sure. But still feel good about their chances, getting the national title, taking what's theirs. I think this team certainly has a chip on its shoulder from last year. And ho-hum, another SEC win. So, good on you, Dawn Staley and crew. Great win, great stuff. And let's see, who do they play next? They play, big one Thursday night. Big one Thursday at Tennessee. The 16th ranked Tennessee Volunteers, 7 o'clock tip on Thursday. That will be a big, big game for Dawn Staley's team. So, great stuff, and kudos to the squad getting the 66-59 win over LSU. Really quick football note, and then we'll get in your listener questions. Gamecocks did pick up a commitment on Friday. 2021 3-star preferred walk-on offensive lineman Colin Henrick. Committing to South Carolina. From everything I read, really good pickup. Really, really good pickup. This is a guy who had a couple of D1 offers, some big D1 offers, some SEC offers. So, and you take a look at his measurables. 6'3", 310 pounds from Leesburg, Virginia. Like I said, 3-star prospect. Was committed to, looks like Boston College for a bit. Excuse me, I said Leesburg, Virginia. I don't know why. Bradenton, Florida. I don't know why I said Virginia there, but Bradenton, Florida. Was at IMG Academy. They put out good players. A center, 6'3", 300. He'll bulk it up too once he gets on campus. So I think a good pickup overall. Another great pickup for Shane Beamer and company. Again, interesting to get him as a preferred walk-on, but a guy again that you look at his offer list. He had some good offers. Had some good offers from a number of schools, some big-time schools. So good pickup for Shane Beamer and company for sure, beefing up the line of scrimmage. All right, let's get in your listener questions. We'll dive in our interview right after that. eCart08, what's more impressive, Brady's at 7 or Saban's 7? It's a tough one. They're both extremely impressive. I'd have to say Brady's 7 because there's so much. You got to think, man, there's so much more parity in the NFL. Now, let's be honest. I mean, in college football, there are 6 teams a year, maybe 8, but more likely 6, 5 to 6 teams a year that realistically can win a national championship. I mean, outside of that, everybody's just kind of playing for whatever, a bowl game. I mean, just call it for what it is. Brady's 7, though? And then to go to Tampa and win one? The GOAT. It's just unbelievable. It's insane, honestly. So, I'm going to say Brady's 7 there. Last question, Gamecock FB updates. Who will be the sleeper for the Gamecocks this year? I'm assuming you're talking football. Sleeper for the Gamecocks this year. I'm going Rico Powers. I still like Rico Powers' game. Big body dude. I don't think he was utilized properly last year. Wasn't developed. Give me Rico Powers for this season being a sleeper. I don't think anybody's talking about him. So, good stuff, guys. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate the voicemail from Tim, by the way. Also, want to remind you guys, tomorrow's show, a very, Very big one. We've been doing the season preview series for Gamecocks baseball the last couple of weeks, doing the position unit previews. Tomorrow is the big season preview show for Carolina baseball. I am very excited. We'll do everything from my predictions for the season, projected lineups, projected pitching staff. I'll kind of give some hypotheticals for the season. Really, really fun stuff, guys. We got a question box up right now, I think, on Instagram. If you want to leave questions for the 2021 season preview show, your questions, your comments, your predictions, how you think the season will go, would love to take those for the Tuesday show, guys. Again, I'm very excited for that. So yeah, really great stuff. Really exciting week, guys. Without further ado, let's jump in this interview. A Hall of Fame interview, no pun intended, literally and figuratively. This was a huge get, obviously, for the business, for the podcast, for the show. Unbelievable conversation with former Gamecocks basketball player Alex English, an NBA Hall of Famer. Obviously, the first Hall of Famer we've ever had on the airwaves. And this was something I've been working on for a while, and to get Alex on the show, just incredible. Just an incredible combo, a guy that is, the greatest Gamecock basketball player who ever lived. You have to say that. He's the greatest, one of the greatest alumni who ever lived, ever. And we can have that argument. So, incredible stuff. Incredible stuff with Alex English, guys. Again, thank you guys so much for the love, support. It's been kind of crazy. I'm sitting here right now, like I said, recording in a hotel room. Really excited to be back in the studio, to get back to the grind and get back in the swing of things. And like I said, really was really nice, I will say, to get away with the family and enjoy that off time, quote unquote off time, and kind of detach for a little bit. But we're full steam ahead now. I'm back in the studio. Baseball season starts Friday. We are hitting the freaking gas pedal in regards to content bleeding out the eyeballs, to getting after it, to live streams, to content, to graphics, to guests, to everything. So really excited, guys. But again, thank you guys so much for the love, support, for showing love as always to the content, sharing the content, consuming the content. Truly do appreciate it. Truly grateful for you guys. And by the way, hope you all had a great Valentine's Day. Hope you guys had a fantastic Valentine's Day and a great weekend as well, and hope you all have a fantastic Monday. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with former Gamecocks basketball player and NBA Hall of Famer, Alex English. All right, joining us today on the Spurs Up Show. Very excited. He played for South Carolina basketball from 1972 to 1976. During his career, scored 1,972 points. He's the all-time leader in that regard. Shot an incredible 58% from the floor during his time in Columbia. He was also a two-time All-American in 1975 and 1976. In 1976, he was drafted in the second round of the NBA draft, had 15 NBA seasons with the Bucks, Pacers, Nuggets, and Mavericks. He was an 8-time NBA All-Star, 3-time All-NBA second team, the 1983 NBA scoring champion. His number 2 is retired by the Denver Nuggets, and his number 22 is retired by South Carolina. Oh, by the way, also in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, and most notably in the NBA Hall of Fame. Folks, I'm very pleased to be joined by former Gamecocks basketball legend and NBA Hall of Famer, Alex English. Alex, appreciate you taking the time. Seriously, it is a pleasure and a true honor to be speaking to you today. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be speaking to all the Gamecock fans.
Absolutely. So, Alex, let's go way back to the beginning for you. Let's go back to your days at Dreer High School. I want to hear about the recruiting process. Obviously, recruiting was much different in those days, but just talk about the recruiting process for you. Again, you were a local kid, so was it just as simple as, hey, I'm going to South Carolina? What were the interests like from schools, and why did you eventually choose to become a Gamecock?
Well, it wasn't that simple. I got offers from a lot of different schools, and I decided I'll go and visit some just to make sure that I'm picking the right one. And I think I visited Minnesota. At that time, they had a strong team. Clemson, they had Tate Locke, who's legendary coach there. Maryland, Lefty Drizel. Oklahoma, John McLeod. So I visited a few schools, and I liked Maryland, and I liked Clemson. And then, I was, of course, being courted by University of South Carolina, Coach Frank McGuire and his crew. And eventually I decided I'm going to stay home. I'm going to play in Columbia, break some barriers here, and be able to be at home.
I want to talk about, Alex, those barriers in just a second, because I think that's a really interesting piece of your story. But you mentioned Frank McGuire, again, a legend in his own right. For someone like me who wasn't able to watch Coach McGuire, obviously during his heyday, if you will, and the great achievements he had at South Carolina, just kind of expand on Coach McGuire, your relationship with him, and what he was like as a head basketball coach. What do you think made him such a great coach?
He was a great communicator. He spoke the game of the language of basketball well, and he had coached some great ones. He coached, won an NBA championship with Wilt Chamberlain in Philadelphia. Went to North Carolina and won a college championship, and then he ended up getting to South Carolina. And he had some great teams there before I got there. The likes of John Roach, Tom Owens, Reebok, a lot of great players. So he spoke the right language. I thought he was very genuine in what he was saying, and he, like myself, felt that we could break barriers. We could open the floodgates for a lot of African American players who hadn't had the opportunity. I didn't choose to come to South Carolina at that time for whatever reasons. Most of them played because Judge Casey Manning now, he was my roommate and was one of the great high school players in South Carolina, from South Carolina. And he went to South Carolina and he didn't get the opportunity to play as much. So a lot of the African American players, people would say, oh, you're not going to get a chance to play there, and you're going to be just like Casey Manning. And, I felt confident in my game. And Coach McGuire had assured me that, we could do good things for the state and the game of basketball in the state.
Yeah, and Alex, I want to talk about that just a little bit more, because you read up on your bio, and it talks about you were arguably the first African-American sports star at the school. And we think just, pretty soon following you, George Rogers obviously kind of took the stage and won the Heisman. And I think from there, like you said, the floodgates kind of opened. But I'm just really intrigued to hear your perspective on that. Again, being an African-American at that time, obviously a much different time in America. And, we all know the challenges that college athletes go through and that daily grind, if you will. It's like having a job, and then you put that on top of it. And again, it really makes everything else kind of pale in comparison, probably to what you face. Just talk a little bit about that and kind of how you overcame that adversity. Again, you trusted your game on the floor, but I'd have to imagine even off the floor, what you were dealing with on a day-to-day basis, again, is something that we can't even really almost comprehend in today's world. Just expand on that a little bit. I'm curious to hear about that.
One of the best ways to say it. I don't know if you saw Asia Wilson's when they did her sculpture and they unveiled it, and her story was that her grandmother couldn't come on Carolina's campus, and here it is, her granddaughter ends up with a statue on that very same campus.
Yeah,
I had an incident like that when I was in college in high school as well. Not high school, but I was just a sixth grader, and I went to a school that was located where the wellness center is located now. It was called Saxon Elementary. And you had the university in the middle there. So I lived on the other side of Barnwell Street. So I had to walk around the university to get to my home. And I can remember walking around the university and being on the corner, almost home, on the corner of Pendleton and I think Sumter Street, or Senate Street. And standing on the corner with some of my siblings, waiting for the light to change. And then this car came up next to us. It was full of just, white kids. And one of the young men jumped out of the car and he ran over to me and he hit me with his fist in the side of my face as hard as he could. And, it was painful. I cried and I got home. And, at that time I was being reared by my grandmother, who was very loving. And, she made me understand that that's the way it is right now. And you will have an opportunity to change that. So I remembered that. And I wanted to be able to come to South Carolina so that all those people who were saying, you're not going to play there, don't go there, you're going to mess up your career, I wanted to prove all of them wrong. And I wanted to be opened the floodgates so that more African Americans would come there to play. Of course, Casey Manning was there, but they didn't look at his career as being legitimate enough because he didn't get a chance to play that much.
Right.
But I was like the top player in the state, and I felt that if I go there, I'm going to play. I was very confident in my ability and my work ethic, and so I got there. And after that, I had other guys come: Nate Davis, Goalie Augustus, Herbert Ensminger, and we started getting more minorities on the team, and as well as football. And I don't say I'm responsible for the football players, but when you look at the great teams like Alabama football team, you look at the Kentucky basketball team, and you see that most of their players are African American, or most of their stars are African American players, and that in turn bring other people to, hey, maybe that's a great place to go.
Right.
I'm going to get a chance to watch and participate in that basketball game or that football game. And that in turn, brought more African American students to the University of South Carolina, more minorities. And, it was part of my duty as an African American basketball player and student to help bring and integrate, South Carolina, because South Carolina at that time was when I hear places like people say, I'm going to Mississippi, I'm going to Alabama, I kind of cringe because I think of, the civil rights movement and the things that happened in Birmingham with Bull Connor and all that stuff. But all those things, there were things that were similar happening in South Carolina.
Right.
We couldn't go sit at a dime store counter and have food. I remember my brother and I, we went to a service station to get some water out of the water fountain after a hot July summer day of selling newspapers on the corner and get kicked in the butt for drinking out of the water fountain. So all those things that happened, I experienced it. It wasn't something that, I could hear somebody else talk about and say, hey, really? I experienced those things, and I wanted to be a part of the change and still do.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. Well, I want to talk about, again, you talk about the impact you made on the floor. Speaks for itself. You started every game over your 4-year career. Again, scored a record 1,972 points. Only the third player, by the way, at South Carolina to record over 1,000 rebounds. And again, you shot 58% from the floor. Remind me, Alex, this was pre-3-point line, correct?
Yeah, and pre-dunk. You couldn't dunk.
And you couldn't dunk.
We could not dunk it.
Wow. I didn't know that was ever a thing.
Yeah,
not allowed to dunk. Okay.
They outlawed it because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was he was so great at
right.
And all the 7-footers that came out, so they just banned it for a while.
Wow. Well, anyways, I just love to hear you again expand on your career at South Carolina, specifically 2-time All-American. Like you said, you felt, and I want to mention this, by the way, you graduated with a bachelor's degree in English in 1976, which I'm sure you're very, very proud of, that you finished up, got the degree, and then went on to your professional career. But your career at South Carolina, obviously, again, it speaks for itself. You mentioned you were very confident in your game, and I would say for good reason, sir. Again, 2-time All-American, all-time scoring leader. I won't ask you to break down every single year, every single game. When you look back on your career at South Carolina, again, a lot of achievement, a lot of personal achievement, and again, doing it with Frank McGuire. Just reflect on that for us a bit.
Well, just to correct, I graduated with a degree, an interdisciplinary and study degree. My major was English.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I wanted to graduate, so I had to just get an interdisciplinary degree.
Gotcha. Okay.
My focus was English, and which I love and still do, and all the things that go with it. Just reflecting on my career with Frank McGuire, I loved playing for the university. Frank was Coach McGuire was, he was a people person, and he taught us the game, but he also taught us how to be gentlemen and the things that people remember about gentlemen. like giving a nice tip or saying thank you or helping somebody across the street or opening the door for a person. He taught us those things as well. And the players that he brought from the North, they weren't so focused on race and that type of stuff that was going on, the problems with the races during that era. So I didn't have that problem to deal with on the teams. And then after that, after my first year there, then more African Americans came. So it was a wonderful experience. I got an opportunity back then. I can remember just being a student. I loved being a student. I can remember that during my era, they had this thing called streaking. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But streaking is when somebody would just get the nerve enough to get butt naked and run across campus or run out in the stadium field. And I can remember, being out in front of the library there, and just in evenings when that was going on, we'd have lines. We'd have 2 rows all the way from one end of campus to the other end, and in the middle we had a room for a streaker to come by, so people would get the nerve, and they would flash and they would run, and it was just awesome. My college days, and the other thing that I'm proud of as well is that during my era, Harry Walker, who was a fraternity brother of mine, became the first African American student body president, and during that era also we had the first Miss USC, who was African American. I don't quite remember her name, but there were a lot of things that were happening during that era that were groundbreaking, and to be a part of that was just awesome for me. And then I got a chance. I don't know if you know, at that time, South Carolina was not in the ACC. They had gotten out of the ACC
independent, right? Before
I got there,
and
we were an independent.
Yeah.
And during that time, the independent schools were the powerhouses, the DePauls, the Marquettes, the Manhattans, the St. John's. And we would travel, because of Coach McGuire, we would travel and play a lot of those independent schools, and we weren't so confined to an ACC, to a schedule like the ACC. So I got an opportunity to see more of the country, and I love travel. I think my joy for travel came out of that college era when I got a chance to visit other cities and other states.
For sure. Alex, how do you feel your game evolved during your time in college? Because again, I'd love to hear, you're an NBA Hall of Famer. Were you in college thinking oh, my game's getting to that level where one day I'm going to be, you all have dreams and aspirations, right? And I'm sure your dream since you were a kid was to make the NBA, but I'm sure your game obviously had to evolve during the course of college, and you got drafted in the second round. Kind of where did you feel like your game was? I'll ask you this. Where did you feel like your game was in 1976 when you got picked in the second round? Did you have the feeling of, I'm about to go to the league and make a splash? Or what was kind of going through your mind? I did not
feel like I was going to go to the league and make a splash. I felt like I was going to go to the league and just make the team. I was a second round pick. And my game in college was totally different from what I evolved into in the NBA. In college, I played right around the basket. I was getting a lot of lobs and a lot of post-ups. I used my leaping ability to be a good player. But once I got drafted in the NBA, I had to expand because I was a small forward and I had to face the basket. So the summer between the time I left college and becoming a rookie in the NBA, I worked all summer facing the basket, just working on a 1-2 dribble pull-up. I was always a good rebounder and shot blocker, but I had to work on the part of my game that was lacking, and that was just my mid-range jump shot, my 1-2 dribble pull-up. So I spent a lot of time working on that. And I can remember one of my former teammates, Kevin Joyce, who played at the university before me, he had said that Alex English is just not big enough. He's not physical enough to make it into the NBA. But, he's a good player, but I don't think he can make it because of the physicality. And of course, that for me, that was just fuel on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I worked, and back then there wasn't the strenuous weight training programs that they had, but so I had to kind of do my own stuff. I realized that I was going into a game that was a man's game, and I was thin. I was only 190 pounds, so I had to do the other things. I rebounded, I blocked shots, I was athletic as far as getting up and down the floor. So I had to do all those things that compensated for my lack of physical prowess or physical abilities. And as my years went on in the NBA, I started lifting and getting stronger and changing my game. And every summer I would say, okay, I've got to add something different to my game. So I would add a 1 dribble pull-up or a 1-2 dribble pull-up, or next summer I might add a running one-hander, or I might extend my range. So I really worked hard at developing my game.
Yeah, and on that
of course, I had in the summertime, I would come home and I would have Tyrone Corbin, Xavier McDaniel, Stanley Roberts, people like that to play against.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note, Alex, I do want to get into your NBA career and ask you again. You got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. You were with them from 1976 to 1978, and then with the Pacers from 1978 to 1980. Respectable start to your career. I think with the Pacers, you were averaging 16 points per game during the 78-79 season. But your career obviously took off when you went to the Nuggets. You were there from 1980 to 1990, and that's when everything really clicked, and you became the NBA Hall of Famer Alex English, the 8-time NBA All-Star, Alex English, which it's funny. We could spend the entire show just talking accolades for you. Like, the list, I feel like, is endless. I tried to get them all in there for sure. But, like, you obviously, again, evolved as a player those first couple of years. But what do you think? What made it click in Denver? And, again, you were surrounded, give credit. You were surrounded by a very good team. I think you guys made the playoffs, 8 or 9 years in a row? And you set your career high with them scoring your first season, 23.8 points per game. Just talk about when you got to Denver, what clicked for you, and obviously you guys had massive amounts of success there.
Well, what happened with Denver, I was in Indiana playing for the Pacers. George McGinnis was in Denver playing for Denver. Donnie Walsh who was my assistant coach in college, was also in Denver, and he was the assistant coach there. And he took over for Larry Brown after they fired him, and they made him the head coach. And he knew my game. He knew my character. And he said, hey, we should get Alex English. But on top of that, Indiana wanted George McGinnis back because he was a homegrown player from Indianapolis. So the trade was made during the All-Star break. My wife was pregnant with my daughter Jade. So it was one of those times where I left. I got traded to Denver, and left my family back in Indiana. So I was in a hotel for a while. But I also got an opportunity to play for my college coach, which made me more comfortable. And the style of play was a better style for me. And Doug Moe came in, and Doug Moe took over and made the style even better. It's more of a fast-paced, get up and down the floor, fast-paced offense. Gave me an opportunity to shoot the ball a lot. And because Donnie Walsh was the coach, I felt comfortable. He was okay with me shooting the ball, so I shot. And it was, it was the beginning of my career to me. My style of play changed because, I became a get up and down the floor, fast break, run, jump, rebound, block shot type of player. Whereas when in Milwaukee and Indiana, it was a set offense where we set it up, we run a play, and you run a play for one person. But in the offense that I played for in Denver, there was no one person that was supposed to shoot the ball. If you had the shot, you took it.
Mm. For sure. I'm just looking, I'm looking over your Denver Nuggets career. And again, you guys as a team as well had a lot of success. And in the 1985 playoffs, and I'm just reading this, you averaged 30.2 points. You guys beat the Spurs, the Jazz, and some of these teams that you played against. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, man,
you know, you met up with the Lakers, and you broke your thumb. I think you broke your thumb, and you guys lost to the Lakers in that series. And in a 2006 interview, you said, "I think if I had not broken my thumb, we had a chance to beat the Lakers." You guys. I mean, again, those Nuggets teams, man, you guys had a lot of success.
You know, and the teams that we played against
were legendary teams.
Tell you something,
legends.
Like, we had to get to the Lakers. We had to go through Utah with Karl Malone and John Stockton, Thurl Bailey. We get through them, and then we had to go play the San Antonio Spurs. They had George Gervin and Artis Gilmore, and you know, it was great basketball and great players. You know, most of the players that I played against during that time in my position are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The Lakers, and we get to the great Forum. I don't know if you know the Forum. I heard of the Forum, but it was a great venue for basketball. So we played the Lakers the first game. They had home court advantage. We go out there and they just slaughtered us. I think they beat us by 25, 30 points.
Right.
Next game, also at the Great Western Forum, we play them and we just ran them out of their own. We ended up beating them. So we go back to Denver because back then it was 2-3-2. And so we go back for 3 games. First game back, we're winning. We're beating the Lakers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goes up for a rebound. He comes down and he's doing this, you know.
Oh, yeah.
His elbow. I put my hand up trying to stop him, and he got me. And I had my fingers taped, had my thumbs taped because I had this injury in my ligaments here. But because it wouldn't move, he hit me right here in the finger here and broke my thumb. And that ended my playoffs. But you know, it was a great run. We got back to the playoffs again, but we didn't get back to the Western Conference Finals again.
Now, I want to ask you again. You're a player. The greatness of you. Greatness respects greatness. Who was the best player you'd say you ever went up against in the NBA? Is there one guy that stands out that just like the battles you guys had back and forth that still stand out to you?
Now you got to remember. Now I played in the era where most of the top 50 players came from.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Played small forward. Every night I had a player that I had to play against that was probably a future Hall of Fame. If it wasn't James Worthy, it might be Dominique Wilkins, or it's George Gervin. Every night there was a great player. I was lots of times when I sat on the bench, I was a spectator. But the greatest player, I couldn't say who the greatest player was, but you know, the Julius Erving and Artis Gilmore and Kareem and Elvin Hayes and the greatest player I played against that guarded me was probably Dennis Rodman.
Really? Wow.
Yes, because you know his focus was mainly playing defense and rebounding, and my goal, my main focus was to score. So there was the clash there. He had to stop me, and I had to score over him. So you know, the way I would get around a lot of folk is that I would outrun them. I was very fluid on the floor. I would get up and down the floor in the fast break, get a lot of easy shots. I could not run Dennis Rodman. I get the ball. You know, he's right there with me.
Yeah, which is so interesting because I'll be up front with you. I'm not like an NBA historian or anything, but I did watch the Michael Jordan documentary. So like I'm just, it's funny to hear that. Like obviously when MJ got in the league, it was kind of near the tail end, I guess, of when you were finishing your time in the league, correct? And there's this young kid from North Carolina that comes out and is just tearing it up. You know what I mean?
Great story about the Chicago Bulls. We go to Chicago. This is when they had Scottie Pippen and they had Jordan. This was back then, maybe third year. Maybe third year. And, you know, we go and we play and we're killing them. We're killing them. And, you know, I was having a decent game. Not a great game, a decent game. And, you know, I was scoring a few. And Scottie Pippen was guarding me. And I think at halftime, Michael Jordan must have told Scotty, let me guard him. And I think I might have scored 2 points the rest of the game.
Oh.
He was that tough defensively.
He took it personally. He took it personally.
He was a tenacious basketball player.
I'm sure he was talking a lot to you, too. I'd have to imagine.
No, he wasn't.
He was just like the silent assassin.
Yeah, he was just silent. But I didn't guard him on the other end. He only guarded me on the on the defensive end.
Wow. Incredible. Well, you getting back to your career, Alex, you closed up your NBA career again after that run with the Nuggets. You spent a year with the Dallas Mavericks. And I just want to go back over these numbers because your career in the NBA, 25,613 points. You averaged 21.5 points per game, 6,538 rebounds, 5.5 a game, 4,351 assists, 3.6 a game. Now, with the Nuggets, the holder of nearly every team record, most points, assists, games, minutes. You're also known as, you're the first NBA player to score 2,000 points in 8 consecutive seasons, and you have the distinction of being the NBA top scorer in the 1980s. Pretty darn good career. And then, of course, you're inducted in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, the NBA Hall of Fame in 1997. Man, what more I don't even know what more I can say. I don't know if you can explain the feelings or emotions. And I feel like it's probably and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably one of those things that, while you're in it, you're such a competitor, you're so locked in. Maybe you're not really thinking about the Hall of Fame or these accolades or that. But I'm sure there was a moment for you, and maybe it came in 97 when you got inducted, where you take a second, you sit back and you're like, wow, I did that. You know what I mean? Like you did that. What?
I do that every day. I'm so blessed to be able to experience the life I've lived, and I'm grateful and thankful every day. Mm-hmm. There are so many moments in this life. During all that, I got a chance to do a movie with Gregory Peck and Jamie Lee Curtis, which I enjoyed. I got a chance to go to South Africa and meet Nelson Mandela when he was released from prison. I got the chance to meet Ronald Reagan. There were so many opportunities and so many things that the game of basketball gave me. I got the chance to be in the first group that went to China when they first opened the country up. Mm. Those are the things that stand out the most. My basketball career, it just seems like that was supposed to be like that. It's supposed to happen.
You're born to play basketball.
Yeah, it was supposed to be that way. Once I got rolling, but getting a chance to travel and see the world and meet Nelson Mandela, one of the great all-time leaders, Ronald Reagan, different politics, but a great president. I got a chance to have an effect on feeding starving people in Ethiopia. That was probably the crowning moment, a crowning achievement of my career, being able to marshal all of my all-star players to donate the money that they made during the all-star game, which the NBA matched everything we raised. They matched. We were able to raise over $500,000 to feed people in the northern part of Ethiopia. And back then, we would, the winners would get 8,000. Losers might get 5,000. We weren't making a lot of money. Right. We weren't making a lot of money. So when we got that all-star money, we were going to make that all-star money. That was like extra gravy. Right. So for those guys to be able to give up, it was just an honor for me to be able to have that type of effect on the other players.
Now, Alex, we got to talk about, though, when you were inducted in 97, just talk about when you got that call, when you found out you were going to be inducted in the NBA Hall of Fame again. That's something that you just dream of playing in the league, much less being in the Hall of Fame. But you get the call, you go to the enshrinement ceremony. Just walk me through that. Can you explain even the emotions and the sense of pride and I guess humility you probably felt during that time, being recognized like that?
Well, it was great. It was a great feeling. It was an honor. I can remember at that time, the very same year after I got inducted in the Hall of Fame, right before that, they had selected the 50 greatest players in the NBA up until that time, and I felt slighted. So it was kind of like a salve on the wound to be inducted into the Hall of Fame on my first shot. And then to have my family there. My Jules Irving was my presenter, as well as my son Alex Jr. So it was an honor for me. It was one of those feelings that you I don't know. I don't know if it's like being a mountain climber and then getting to the top of Mount Rushmore, on top of the largest mountain in the
Mount
world.
Everest, you're talking about? Mount Everest?
Mount Everest,
yeah.
Yeah. Rushmore is a different mountain.
Yeah. No, I get the comparison there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were underrated? I mean, because I feel like you said, like when you think top 50 players, like Alex English is not a name that is spoken of quite as much for whatever reason. I mean, why do you think that is? Do you feel like you're underrated?
I do. I felt like during my career, I was too quiet. I wasn't a braggadocio type player.
Weren't flashy.
All I did was go out and do my work every night. But I felt that the numbers that I gave should have been enough to put me in that elite category because, people say, well, he was just a scorer. As you look at those statistics that you're looking at, you can see I was more than just a scorer. I was a rebounder. I was a shot blocker, and I'm on top of that. I passed the ball. I mean, as you look at the top forwards in the NBA from my era during that time, I was probably one of the top assist guys, even though I scored a lot of points. So I did feel slighted, and I thought of some of the younger players that they'd put in ahead of me when, my body of work had already been done. So, but I got over it. I know in my heart, I know that my fans are people. Excuse me.
You from? No.
People that know the game, they know what my work was.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I love about the NBA is just the debate of who the best players are. It still rages on now. Obviously, I do want to talk about.
It will always.
Yeah, it will always go
on.
There'll always be debate. I'm sure even between you guys, amongst all the players, it's still the jabbing back and forth, and going after. I want to, you talk about giving back to the game of basketball, where you were able to do so as a coach also. And I just want to get your take on your coaching career again from 2002 to 2013. You coached in the NBA as an assistant for the Hawks, 76ers, Raptors, and Kings. Just talk about your coaching career a little bit again in the NBA, and was coaching something you knew you always wanted to do? And, just kind of reflect on, what you learned from that experience.
It wasn't something that I was focused on until the NBA said they were going to start a developmental league, and they were going to start with a team in Charleston, South Carolina, which is going to bring me back home from New York. And I said, oh, man, let me go and politic for this job. So I politicked for it, and I got the job with the North Charleston Lowgators. We ended up losing in the championship round, and I got the coaching bug. Got a chance to start with the Hawks. Went on to the Philadelphia 76ers with Allen Iverson and all those guys, and then from there I went to Toronto Raptors with Chris Bosh and Vince Carter, Jalen Rose, those guys, and stayed there for 7 years. And from there I went to Sacramento. So it was a good career. I wish I could have coached more. I don't think the opportunity for African American coaches was as broad as it is now. And so the opportunity wasn't there for me. But I really enjoyed coaching.
Did you want to be a head coach? Would you have taken a head coaching opportunity or
a heartbeat? In a heartbeat.
Yeah. I want to get back to the Gamecock side of things, Alex. Before we do, though, I feel like having the opportunity to speak with you, and again, you being in the league for so long as a player and coach, and it's still pretty fresh for us all. I want to ask you about Kobe Bryant, obviously happening last year, and it just shook the basketball world and really the entire world, not just basketball people, but everybody. It hit in some type of way because Kobe was a guy that touched, athletes from all different sports, people from all walks of life. I mean, one of the greatest ever. I'm sure you'd agree with that. Just talk about what you remember from Kobe Bryant. Again, I'm sure this is a guy you watched evolve, in those Lakers teams. You watched this kid evolve from just, from 8 to 24. And, we all know like the story, but your memories of the late, great Kobe Bryant.
Well, my first memory of Kobe Bryant, I one of the jobs I had when I retired was I was the director of player programs for the NBA Players Association. And I started this camp in Princeton for all the top high school players in the country come to Princeton to a basketball camp. Mm-hmm. And so we had to put together all the lists. And of course, there were a lot of former players who had sons that played. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make sure we got them. But we wanted to get the best players. And that year was the year that Kobe Bryant was one of the top players. And I've been hearing about this kid. And every time he's not here yet. He comes, when he does come, he comes with his mother and his sisters. Very strong family. Mm. So they came and, he was very, very confident. Mm. Very confident about his game. You could see that he loved playing the game. And once we got started, he just dominated everybody. There was no comment. I'm talking about some great players now.
Right.
Most of those players ended up playing in the NBA at some point. So that was my first opportunity with Kobe. And I got a chance to see him play and loved his game and still feel that he's one of the top. They talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron. I mean, Kobe is in the same class to me because the thing. And then the other time I met with Kobe, I mean that sticks in my mind, that's glued in my mind, is the year I was with the Toronto Raptors and we played the Lakers in LA, and it was my game to scout. So I'm the one putting the game plan together. And that night, Kobe ended up scoring 81 points. And it was just amazing just sitting over there watching. So I got a chance to see that. And then, after that, he was just such a competitor. And, I loved his game and loved what he did as a player and with his family and everything. And miss him. I was a big Kobe Bryant fan, and he respected me as a player, as a coach. So we miss him. Yeah. Because he was just about to get into another level of life that we, that was cut short. So, like all the players and all the we miss Kobe.
Yeah. Rest in peace, the late, great Kobe Bryant. Let's get back to the Gamecock side of things. Alex, obviously, with what Dawn Staley and Frank Martin are doing right now, I'd love to get your take on the current state of Gamecock basketball. We'll start first on the women's side because we're talking the day after. Dawn and the ladies losing a tough game to UConn on the road. It is what it is. They're going to get another shot at them. We know, Dawn's team is fine. A really tough game going to overtime, but just talk about the growth of the women's program since she took over. Because growing up, I don't really remember, watching Carolina women's basketball or it having that great of an impact. And when she took over, I mean, it speaks for itself. A national title in 2017 and a top, one or two program every year. They probably would have won the national title last year. I think we all agree on that. We're number one in the country when the season got cut short or what have you. And I think they're right back on their way this year and will continue to do so for years to come. And I see you tweeting about the game and you obviously watch them all. Like how awesome is it? And again, I think it's interesting too. You talked about breaking barriers on the men's side of things. And I think maybe they kind of did that too. You know what I mean? Like making women's just in all facets when it comes to women's basketball. But how awesome for you has it been to sit back and watch what Dawn has done, the great players she's had come through and really building that program into, I would say, the premier program in women's college basketball?
Well, I've always been a women's college basketball fan. When Pat Summitt had All those great teams. And one of the young ladies that came from Columbia, Teresa Jeter, went there and won a championship with her. And when Dawn came here, I watched her from afar because I wasn't back home yet. And I watched her build the program and do what she wanted to do as far as bringing the type of talent. And she became the heir apparent to Pat Summitt. Because Pat Summitt used to get all the great women basketball players before Gino Ariama had Connecticut. And then Dawn started putting it together and, getting great players. And you could see she was building toward what she's got now. And when Asia Wilson came to play for her, that was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Every great player wants to play for a good team. They want to get an opportunity to have a chance of winning the championship. So that's why you see, the teams like Connecticut, Notre Dame, Tennessee, those teams, South Carolina, they're always getting the great players. But Dawn has done a great job here. I don't think she gets the credit that she deserves. She has done an awesome job on and off the court. She stands up for what's right, and she doesn't back down, which I love about her. And I'm always going to be behind her in that sense. But she's got players that believe in what she could do and what her team can do, and that's why she's got a great talented players. So I expect to be at the national championship game come February, sitting on the sidelines, hopefully, and cheering for them, and just looking forward to her teams in years to come. But there's another young lady. There's a young lady that's at Keenan High School, and her name is Malaysia. Her last name escapes me. But she is going to be, you talk about one of the best players. She's one of the best college. She's going to be one of the best college players. I know in high school, she's one of the best I've ever seen. I know Dawn is recruiting her, but she's got the best players, and you love to see them play. I love Boston and, the teams that she's got on the floor now. Destiny Henderson, point guard. Oh man, she's just fast, and she gets down that floor. And I love her team. I think there's probably 5 or 6 WNBA players on that team right now.
Oh, for sure. Like you said, it's so much fun to watch Dawn's team, what she's built. Let's switch over, Alex, to the men's side of things. Obviously, again, we talked about off air. This season has just been craziness. COVID has hit South Carolina men's basketball, has hit them as hard, if not harder, than anybody else. With you didn't play a game for I think like 45 days. Your head coach has had it twice. He's dealing with alopecia stuff as well, whatever. And I'm fingers crossed they've gotten over the worst part of that. And again, you got to play an SEC basketball schedule. With the SEC has become one of the premier leagues in college basketball. And but I will say this with Frank, great coach, first thing. And I think he has without a doubt raised the bar when it comes to South Carolina basketball with that Final Four run in 2017. And he has also built the program. And again, you watch every single game. They've got a roster full of really talented players. But I'll ask you just your overall thoughts on not even necessarily this season, because, again, it's just been a wacky season, but the current state of Gamecocks basketball with Frank Martin at the helm, overall just your feelings on the program, I would say.
I think it's in great hands with Frank Martin. He has brought some class and some tough-mindedness to the game for Gamecock fans, and some pretty good players. That Final Four run was just awesome. I got a chance to participate in that and just loved it. And I feel that this year, the pandemic has ruined a lot of sports, a lot of opportunity. I know the strength of Frank's team is the defense, and they work really hard. But I know this guy would go to most every practice last year. Right. I haven't had a chance to go to a practice at all this year to see, because they haven't gotten a chance to practice. Plus, the protocol is so strict that I couldn't get in. But it's his practices are very important. And when they get an opportunity to really string together some practices, if they've got time to do that, I think they're going to be tough to beat in the SEC tournament. So I still have all the confidence in the world in Coach Martin. I feel bad for him because he had COVID twice. Fortunately and prayerfully, he's gotten through both of them, and he seems to have a positive frame of mind. And I think this season is going to get better. And I'm looking forward to the game tonight against Alabama.
Yep. And like you said, it speaks to Frank's resiliency and toughness that he'd be willing to, he's acknowledged he doesn't feel 100%. How could you having it twice? So definitely speaks to the type of guy he is. Alex, this has been awesome. I just want to say this has been incredible. You've been gracious with your time, and I'm going to get you out of here. But on a lighter note, last question. I'm going to really put you on the spot here. LeBron or MJ? Who's the GOAT?
Well, I'm going to go with my era, Michael, but I say LeBron. I am amazed. At how he's continued to be in such great shape, and
he gets better as he gets older. Honestly,
he gets better. So I say I'll say it's a toss up, but the cop out answer.
I
still have to say Kobe Bryant is one of the best to me.
Yeah.
So
I'd say MJ's the GOAT. I can't get over the 6 rings, man. It speaks for itself. I feel like.
I think LeBron is trying to get to that, and then he'll retire. So then there'll be a big debate about, okay, you can't say it's the 6 rings anymore.
Yeah. I just had to ask you because, ESPN, they love to milk that debate. And I'm like, let's just respect greatness all the way around. You know what I mean? They're both great players, different eras. Hard to compare. Again, Alex English, former Gamecock and NBA Hall of Famer. Alex, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been an honor to chat with you. And I know, obviously, we'll be watching along with you, pulling along Frank and Dawn and Gamecocks basketball, and looking forward to the rest of the season. And again, we'd love to do it again sometime, man. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. He's Alex English. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on an episode of the Spurs Up Show.